rescheduling, his flight was canceled and he could not get another flight in from Florida today. But we will proceed with the meeting. We do have a quorum. The first item on the agenda for the 6 o'clock meeting is the public comment policy. And I'm going to defer to our county manager and to our attorney. Gentlemen.
I believe Mr. Attorney, we talked about it earlier.
We did. You want me to stand up, Mr. Chairman? You want me to?
Please, and get towards on the mic too so that it can be carried.
I'll just hold it. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I guess some of you folks were here last month when I spoke at the beginning of the meeting. So I guess since last month, let me just try to outline what has happened as an explanation as to why we're discussing the public comment policy at this time. So I think the last 2 months of regular commissioners meetings, there's been a lot of folks that have been at the meetings who want to be heard pro and con regarding the asphalt plan. And last month's meeting was quite a large meeting with overflow, and a lot of folks spoke. And the public comment period probably lasted, if my recollection is correct, about 2 hours of the meeting. So the commissioners had a work session after that meeting, and it's my understanding, and you could please correct me if I'm wrong, but the consensus was, well, we're having a meeting next month. What's going to happen at that meeting? And I believe it was the understanding, since there was an explanation that the issue was going to be heard to the Board of Adjustment, that just maybe everybody had gotten it out of their system regarding speaking to the commissioners. And at that time, rather than having everybody show up with to see what was going to go on, the commissioner said, well, we'll send the notice out that we're going to fall back to the policy that had been in effect for some time here. And I honestly believe that the reason the commissioners were sending that out was not to somehow curb the right to free speech, but was more or less as a notice to say, we're going to be having our meeting, so we're not going to have the 2 hours public comment. Well, I think that assumption was quite wrong. It's the reason we're here today, because there was a kickback to it. There was a reaction to it. And there's no judgment on that. It is what it is. So the commissioners want to address that at this special meeting before we move into the 7 o'clock meeting. And it's all about trying to find a balance. The commissioners have their regular monthly meeting, but obviously this issue is something that is very, very important to a lot of folks in Madison County, and they want the opportunity to be heard. So I think what the commissioners want to do is, folks being here, they want to address the issue of public comment so that we can move forward into our meeting tonight, maybe the meeting next month, to see how we can accommodate the regular business of the board, as well as providing you folks a forum to participate in your local government. And, last month's meeting was very orderly. Everybody acted very professionally. But I think what the commissioners want to do is just strike that balance, because we have an agenda that has been scheduled. They tried to keep it light, so that there's not going to be 3 hours of folks coming here, wanting to present things to the commissioners, such as last month we had the Board of Transportation. I think when they came, they were quite surprised that there were so many people here when they had made their presentation. So the agenda is sort of light, and I think the commissioners are going to try to discuss how they can, I guess, fix a temporary public comment policy so that they can accommodate everyone's concerns. And then I believe the policy that we have is quite old. We'll take judicial notice that it's from 2002. So it may be a good time to consider, doing a work session a couple of months down the road to even modify that. But at this time, the most important thing is we can completely, one end of the continuum, you can completely suspend the rules and regulations, which makes it sort of an open forum, and everybody can speak until 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, and we can't have any business. Or you can go back to, say, 3 people can speak for 3 minutes, and we can go into the regular meeting at 7:15. There has to be some place in between that should accomplish the concerns of everyone. And I think that's the reason that the commissioners have scheduled this special meeting to answer those questions. Am I correct, folks?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what I think the appropriate thing to do right now would just be to put forth proposals, discuss what we can do in the way of some type of temporary policy to be in effect during this issue, and then we can address the permanent policy. You all have the authority to adopt rules. We just simply need, a vote on that.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Gentlemen?
Okay,
Go ahead.
You want me to
Whichever
start?
one.
Sure. First, I appreciate everybody being here. This was never meant, as our attorney said, to silence anything. After looking over this policy, we've all got together to have that conversation. My recommendation is to at least try to find that healthy balance that Mr. Laws is talking about. I think at a minimum, we could look at on these issues there, starting off, if you will, with an hour limit. Throw that out there first and see what you two think about that. An hour for public comment.
Okay. Matt, thoughts?
I think if we're going to do an hour of public comment, if that's what the board so desires to do, then I would suggest moving public comment to the end of the meeting to be fair to our county employees that have to come present at these meetings. And also any guests that have to come and present at our meetings. So that would be my recommendation. And this is a temporary fix, I understand. Is that what you're proposing, Mr. Chairman, or Commissioner Goforth?
I'm not sure I'm that far along in my thought process. I think that, as Donnie said, Mr. Laws, that our policy is so old that I think we need to take a look at it and see if we can't bring it up to where we're comfortable with it.
Sure.
I think the way it reads now is draconian.
Right. My comments would center on 3 things. Number one, to repeat what Donnie said, we in no way want to limit public participation in government. Now, many of you in this room know me That's not my nature. It's not the nature of the other members of the board. The last two meetings were unlimited public comment. We waived the rules. Anybody who wanted to speak had a chance to speak. And as Donnie mentioned, it was remarkably respectful on both sides, and a lot of good things were shared. And that's the way it should be. And at this point, as we continue through this process for however many more weeks, a couple of months, whatever it takes to move that process forward and find a resolution, I'm completely agreeable with my peers that we can again waive the rules to allow public comment within certain reasonable parameters. Definitely the old part in the 2002, which says basically one person, one time on one issue, that's not going to work, okay? And I don't think we have any debate or any discussion on that.
No.
Matt's point is also well taken that way back in 2015, now seems like yesterday, but it's quite a ways back, we actually changed public comment and moved it to the front of the meeting in order to make it more convenient for the public. But if we're going to have a large amount of people speaking, I do agree that for all the people who come for the necessary business, many of them after their regular business day, and we would, for at least the immediate future, move public comment to the rear of the normal business meeting. And that's still going to, allow plenty of time. And actually will encourage everybody to stay and better understand what the business of the county is, okay? So it's been suggested that we have a limit of 1 hour, or I would suggest that's 20 people, 3 minutes each. And I think the 3 minutes works well. So I wouldn't have any problem with a 3 minute, up to an hour, or 20 people, whichever number comes first, okay? And we need to let anybody who wants to speak on any issue sign up. It wouldn't be like 5 here, 5 there, 2 here, 2 there. So if the first 2 people signed up were on one issue and the next one was on a totally different issue, it would be the first 20 individuals who signed up in whatever order they signed up on whatever issue and whichever side they chose to speak on. Okay. Okay. Do we have any other discussion?
No, I would just like to say, I think this is a good starting compromise. I've talked to a few people when I first got here this afternoon, and their words to me were, we just want to be heard, and we're listening.
Yes.
We're trying to find that balance. If this doesn't work and we come back, then I'm going to come back and have that conversation about making other changes. We are listening to you.
We do appreciate all of the emails, the letters hand delivered, the numerous people who have stopped us in the post office or in the grocery store or wherever they might find us. We all live in the community. We're very easy to find. And I would encourage people to continue to do that because your voice is important and we really do want to hear your voice. Okay. Is anyone ready to make a motion?
But I request for clarity, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I think if you do the 20 people at 3 minutes, it's probably clearer because it'll end up being a little longer than an hour.
It will.
But it keeps
It will.
it keeps everybody at 3 minutes, where if you do whichever comes first, you're going to end up with somebody, you may not get your 20.
Well,
It's up to
well,
y'all,
no,
but I
no,
think if
well
you get
stated.
20 on 3
It will creep.
It might be easier.
It might be more like an hour and 10, 15 minutes. I agree.
Right.
Well,
Which is okay. Like last month, 31 people should be 93 minutes, but it was 2 hours because they're getting up and passing things out and 15 seconds over, that sort of thing.
it's a good point.
But I'm actually saying it's up to y'all, but I would, if you stick with a number of people, I think that's easier to track than a period of time if people start going over. Sorry.
Well, I would suggest 15 people then, if to consider the time for people to get up and down, that should put us right at an hour based on last month's numbers of 31 and 2 hours plus.
Okay.
So I would suggest that.
Okay.
And since we're in baseball season, I might have another suggestion. Maybe we could sit over here at the thing and say, who's on deck next? No, I mean, really, say who's up and have the person come on down. And then we'll just zip you on. And I didn't take this was Jim's idea, but I stole it from him.
Yeah.
And move them around.
Okay, makes perfect sense. All right. Would someone like to put forth a motion? The chair will be happy to move based on the discussion for an interim period of time. The public comment will be 15 individuals at 3 minutes. First come, first serve on sign up. Any further discussion?
I still think we can do 20 if we do the on deck rule. Literally have the person over here who has the list say, Jim Brown, you're next. Nicely, really nicely. And Jim Brown's come right on down here. And then when Susie Brown goes up, Jim just comes right over there. And I think we can do that. I would not want to go back.
You would still want to go 20?
I would.
All right.
Yes,
You have a problem with that, Matt?
I think it's going to go more than an hour, but that's fine.
Yeah. I will amend the motion at the request of my fellow member for it to be 20 individuals, and we will move with deliberate speed to get everybody to speak. And that also that this will, for the next several meetings, be at the end of the regular business session. Correct?
And by that, you mean prior to closed session?
Prior to closed session, yes, sir. Okay, any further discussion or clarification?
No, sir.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Again, any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All right. We are now at the point that under the General Statute 143-318, paragraph 11, that the board will adjourn to closed session for personnel, property, and attorney-client privilege. And we will return here for the general open meeting at approximately 5 minutes to 7. Thank you, folks. We'll see you in about 45 minutes. We are in closed session.